Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. This week we're going to be talking all about Iron Man 3, and joining me for that conversation we have Logan Wilkinson. How you doing, Logan?
Doing fantastic.
Excellent. And Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
I am Iron Man.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Iron Man 3 as a just fun spin on our holiday month
Christmas
of
time
stuff. It is very much a Christmas movie. It's, set all around the
Can confirm a Christmas tree.
holidays and stuff. Shane Black loves having some fun with that. So, that's why we picked it. Plus, just a good old fun Marvel movie. And I think we're all much more on the side of Iron Man 3 is good actually compared to maybe a lot of people, MCU
Haters.
versed people.
People who just don't get it.
Yeah.
For the history lesson, movie came out a little over 10 years ago, May
I know.
3rd, 2013. Still back in the early days of the MCU, it seems, but
It was really weird watching the movie where they were like 1999. In my head, it was like, oh, it's like 20 some odd years ago. And they were like 10 years ago. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And I had a whole thing of what year am I in? And it really tripped me out to kind of go back to that.
Yeah.
Other not feel like Iron Man 3's been that long.
Other releases of the time there in 2013, we had, this was the summer where we had The Croods and Olympus Has Fallen on March 22nd.
That's right. Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah. I put it in there because there was Olympus Has Fallen and then White House Down.
Yep.
Later on, it was another one of those years of two studios just landed on the exact same concept.
I know one was Morgan Freeman. That's Olympus Has Fallen. And
Olympus Has Fallen.
White House Down is
Butler.
Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx and who?
Channing Tatum. Because this is Gerard Butler and Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah, that's right. Here's the thing. If you had asked me if Gerard Butler was in both of them, I would have said yes.
The crazier thing for Olympus Has Fallen,
and I didn't know this sequels?
I was going to say until 4 months ago, when I moved to Sacramento, it was playing in the hotel. There are 4 of these Fallen movies now. It's a lot of them. And I was like, oh my God. I knew about Olympus and then London Has Fallen, and I thought it ended there, and it very much has not.
I don't know who Gerard Butler owes money to, but that man puts a lot of work out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the Nicolas Cage effect. I'm waiting for the Gerard Butler renaissance.
I mean, did you not see Plane this year?
That's true. I forgot about that plane existed.
Yeah.
The hit motion picture film.
This also gave us G.I. Joe Retaliation, March 28th.
Ooh, that's
That was the second one.
That was the second one, not the first one. That was the one. The second one was with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and it's actually pretty decent.
Pretty okay.
Okay.
It's not.
Channing Tatum gets blown up in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right. That does happen.
Yep. They wipe out the entire first movie's cast except for Snake Eyes.
That's because the first one's bad.
I didn't know that they were still making these movies here in 2013, but April 12th gave us Scary Movie 5 alongside the much better 42.
I think that's the last Scary Movie.
Probably, yeah.
It is the last Scary Movie, I believe. I don't think there's ever been a Scary Movie 6.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Then we had Iron Man 3 here, May 3rd. And May 3rd, that really much kicked off the actual, summer blockbuster season. It was followed the next week, May 10th, by The Great Gatsby.
Crazy. That's crazy.
May 16th was Star Trek Into Darkness, the second of those Star Trek reboots.
Ooh, that was a rough one.
It was, because it makes zero sense hiding the fact that was Khan the whole time. Because
didn't make any sense.
Has no relationship to that cast because events changed, and so it's only a play for the audience, but the audience is smarter than the movie thought they were going to be, and was like, well, of course he's playing Khan. Why are you hiding this?
My favorite part was how they spent the entire press tour saying he's not Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is like the same shit of when for Batman Arkham Origins, are they like the Joker's not the main villain? We got a brand new villain. Shout out to Black Mask. And
it was
pulled the rug out from under this.
No, he's the Arkham Knight. Well, he seems a lot like Red Hood.
They did it twice. That's right. They did it twice in that series, didn't they? I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Wow. He's not the Red Hood. He's the Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot all about that.
Also, shout out to Arkham Knight's Red Hood DLC, which was rad as hell.
Sure. I don't think
it's all right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
I'm a Red Hood fan, so it worked for me.
Red Hood's good.
May 23rd brought us the final Hangover Part 3. We were only at the 6th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise there on May 24th.
The last unambiguously good one, I would argue, as well.
I don't remember which one that was.
That's not the one where they introduced.
Yeah, that's the one where Giselle dies. It's the one that ends on like the never-ending plane flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That's Fast 7, isn't it?
Nope, 7's where Paul Walker dies.
Yeah, 7.
Or like
the
movie where Paul Walker has died. Yeah.
Oh, and then we saw Fate of the Fury. No, we saw Furious 9 together, Trevor, right?
Furious 9 was when they went to space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one that I refuse to see.
So Fate of the Furious is the one where Paul Walker is sent off, isn't it?
No, Fate
of the Furious. He dies in 7.
Yeah, Fate of the Furious. They were already gone.
They're in a submarine. It goes into the Arctic.
Oh, that's right. That's one where it's like Dom is bad because they're holding his kid hostage.
Exactly, and he doesn't tell anyone because reasons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because we have to show you how good Dom is when he's on his own and a bad guy.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
May 31st was After Earth by Gary Whitta.
I forgot all about that movie, yeah.
Yep. June 7th was The Purge got its start. That series got its start. And I include it here because of the ties here. Much Ado About Nothing, the Joss Whedon one that he basically shot in 2 weeks after the Avengers. However, of course, we kind of know Joss Whedon sucks now, but still.
Yep. Much better. Nothing's great, though.
Yep. Man of Steel was June 14th, which this movie is a very clearly a pre-Man of Steel MCU movie.
Absolutely.
With just the amount of brutal violence and people that Tony kills, whereas Man of Steel comes out and then by the time we get around to like the Avengers Age of Ultron, it's very much the Avengers save people. They don't kill people, so we're going to really highlight how much the Avengers like to save people in the Marvel movies because everybody had been like, oh my god, they just blew up Metropolis.
Areas. Yeah, we're gonna have
June 21st brought us Monsters University and World War Z.
Monsters University is pretty good.
Yeah,
World War Z is not bad. I think it gets a bad rap because it's not the same as it's not the same as the book, but the book is literally like
I don't even
like
know
an instruction
guide.
Book
a movie. You couldn't even do that.
You'd have to make it like an anthology on HBO or something.
They did do it. It's called Zombieland, with all the rules.
Zombieland's great.
Oh, I guess that's true. With the rules they did that. That's a good adaptation of it. But the actual the actual World War Z book, I think would be still would make like a great anthology series. Because it's all a bunch of news reports and stuff, and aftermath reports.
World War Z is such a good book, though.
It's a really good book.
June 28th brought us The Heat and the aforementioned White House Down. And then wrapping up here the summer, maybe not wrapping up, but July 3rd was Despicable Me 2 and The Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger!
Yeah.
I think
trying to bank on that Johnny Depp love.
Ooh, it's not just that, but Armie Hammer is the Lone Ranger in that. Oh man.
I think that this is such a weird year because 2013, and this is part of our permanent brains of being stuck 6 years behind where we actually are, but 2013 does not feel like a decade ago. But these movies feel like they're from very different years. If you just rattling these off, it's Man of Steel feels like that was 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing: this is a period of my life that's very poignant to me. I remember it very viscerally because it's when I left
21.
When I left call center work to go back to school, and so I remember this month to month this year. And so I remember when Iron Man 3 came out, like where I was at. Because it was 2 months before
Campbell 16.
Yeah.
That's where I was.
Gosh, no, this is like a visceral time of my life. And so like, I'm remembering these movies. So like, this is where I was at that month. This is what was going on that month. Like, this is
also
crazy.
The Purge feels like that was forever ago too. That also like a movie that was like
it was forever ago because it was 10 years ago. But yeah,
I mean, it is interesting to like look and see compared to like this time 10 years ago. Man of Steel, the entire DCU basically has come and almost gone.
Shit.
In the time since.
That's
since
weird to
Iron
think
Man
about.
3
Yeah.
here. And then this would have been Iron Man 3 was the start of Phase 2, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because it was the first one after Avengers.
Yep.
This was the start of Phase 2 of the MCU versus the Phase 5 we're in now.
You know what I have to say too about Man of Steel is that I'm going to not talk about it. Instead, talk about Superman Returns, which is, I think, a criminally underappreciated movie.
I think it's appreciated exactly where it is.
I think Superman Returns is better than people give it credit for. I think people don't even think about it, so I don't think it's appreciated really at all. I think that movie's got really good moments in it.
I think it's got some. I think it's got some really good moments in it.
Brandon Roth is a great Clark Kent.
I think that's accurate. I think he's a good Superman. My problem with that movie is that one, it's Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor in it, and it's like I can't go back and watch it now. But also, I'll also put out there that it's just his plot from Superman 1. Like his villain scheme is just the same one from Superman 1. Like,
isn't it more so like? I don't think I've ever actually watched Superman Returns, but I've like
really
seen enough about it. I've never watched like any of the Christopher Reeve Supermans either.
Wow,
Yep, no.
Those are good.
Those are good. Well,
Superman 1 and 2, Superman 1 and 2 are great, like classic movies, like super good movies.
That's crazy. We should watch Superman. Oh my god.
I rarely go back and watch something from the 70s.
That's fair. I think
Only ones from the 70s.
It's just
we talked about this like during the Bond stuff. It's like I could probably count on like one hand the number of movies older than what was the first Bond? Dr. No?
Dr. No.
Yeah. I could probably count on one hand the number of movies older than that I've watched in my lifetime.
I wouldn't need more than all of
Man, you just were not a Turner Classic Movie kid. That's for sure.
I was going to say,
Trevor
was not a Western fan.
The only one I can actively think of is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life. One of my least favorite movies from that era.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life is great. That's a crazy take.
I'm fully aware I'm alone in this take.
You're an idiot, Cameron.
I'm alone in this. I'm the only person on planet Earth that doesn't like It's a Wonderful Life. I understand. Yeah. I don't have a particular reason.
Anyway,
I don't have a particular reason for not liking It's a Wonderful Life. I just don't.
So despite not seeing Superman
To Kill a Mockingbird, Trevor?
I guess like that, and
that's around that era. That's around Dr. No. That could maybe.
Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird. I saw it like in high school, in a class. Mm-hmm. I saw
12 Angry Men. Come on now.
No, I've never seen 12 Angry Men.
Have you ever seen Have you ever seen Dr. Strangelove?
No.
Oh my
gosh. After Dr. No, though. To be fair, it's after.
Oh, is it okay? That's fair.
Yeah. The South, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Oh, Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
That one.
Absolutely
I finally
classic.
saw that one. In a summer school class for American history, where it basically was like a day of summer school, which was accounted for like a week of normal classes. But yeah. So what I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Having never seen Superman Returns, my understanding is like he comes back and is basically a deadbeat dad because he just kind of disappeared on Lois and the kid.
He didn't know that he had a kid.
That's fine.
He didn't know he had a kid.
In fact, it's inferred through majority of the movie that the kid is Lois's current husband's.
Yeah, but clearly isn't.
No, he's not. And the thing about
but he didn't know that he had.
He still disappeared.
Well, he disappeared because there's something that ended up happening at the end of the previous Superman where he's like, I have to go and figure out like Krypton and stuff, and because that movie was just bad, so don't worry about it.
Because basically, Superman Returns is basically like Superman a sequel 3. To. Essentially, exactly. Yeah. It's basically Superman 3. And they just wipe out the canon of actual Superman 3 and 4. Which is really
what do you mean,
smart,
the quest for peace?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I will say
Richard
that...
Pryor's the one that gets bad.
Yeah, I will say that.
Probably loop back around to Iron Man 3.
I will say, like, Superman 1 has a stellar cast and should definitely be watched. Also, the making of that movie is insane because what they agreed to get Marlon Brando to agree to make the movie is bonkers, like, absolutely insane shit. And then when they reneged on him, Marlon Brando didn't care.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando literally put insane stuff in his contract so he didn't have to work. And they called his bluff, and it worked. It's insane. But also, he's really good as Jor-El. Like, it's a fantastic cast. It's a really great movie.
So back to Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
As we often do, we do our little box office roundup kind of stuff. It had a domestic gross in 2013 of $409.0 million, which was up from Iron Man 2's $312.4 million. So where do you guys think that falls in terms of, like, top movies of 2013? Again, we've seen a smattering of the movies from that year.
I think it's number one is my initial reaction. There's no Avengers, there's no James Bond, there's no Star Wars.
But it's Man of Steel. Man of Steel did insane numbers, though.
I think Iron Man did better than Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel didn't do as good as this.
I will highlight
the bigger question for
Iron
me
Man is coming
Fast
off
6.
of the high of Avengers.
That's true. Oh shoot, yeah.
I think Iron Man 3 is number one.
Because
Because Iron Man 1 did great, plus Avengers. I think it's Iron Man.
My feeling on it is I think it is number. I will. Yeah, I'm gonna agree that it's number one.
All right.
Because I think Iron Man 3 I don't think Iron Man 3 passes $1 billion worldwide, but I think it does extremely well worldwide.
Well, we're only domestic first.
I know, but that's what I'm trying to add up in my head. Is like where it's gonna go.
I mean, you're not looking at the doc, so I'll go ahead and give you the next line is Iron Man does hit 1.21 billion worldwide.
Does it? Good. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Iron Man 3 is fucking great. It should.
So just outside the top 10, we have at number 12 the follow-up to Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World.
Ooh, that's right. That movie came out. Ooh, Dark World's bad.
Yep, it was $206 million. Star Trek Into Darkness was number 11, $228 million. Oz the Great and Powerful was number 10.
Oh!
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised that one.
That's a Sam Raimi one. Yeah,
that is a Sam Raimi one.
Yeah, it is.
Fast and Furious 6 was number 9 with $238 million.
Give it a second before we get to worldwide. That'll jump.
Oh, yeah. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug was $258 million at number 8.
Okay.
Monsters University made it all the way up to number 7 with $268 million as well. $268 million. Gravity was number 6.
Oh, Gravity came out that year. Gravity's good.
$274
That's good for
million.
That's a great showing for Gravity. Damn.
We will touch on Gravity in a little bit here. Man of Steel was number 5 with 291 domestic. Number 4, Despicable Me 2, $368 million. Number 3, a movie that I believe came out later in the year, Frozen, did $400 million.
There you go.
Number 2, Iron Man 3 with $409 million.
So what?
Number 1, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Oh shit! Really? Yeah, Hunger Games sequel. That makes sense.
Second Hunger Games movie. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Jennifer Lawrence was massive back then, man.
And it was still in the high of the young adult era.
Yeah, that's true.
Harry Potter had just ended, right? Yeah.
Hunger Games was claiming Harry Potter's throne.
So yeah, number 2 domestic. And then
what did Catching Fire do again?
Sorry.
What did Catching Fire do again?
Catching Fire domestically did $424.6 million.
So it was close. Okay. Yeah.
About 15 million more.
Yeah.
Then we get to the worldwide box office, and knowing some of those other movies that surprised you on the top 10, do you have any thoughts on where Iron Man 3 falls ultimately?
I think Iron Man 3 might drop to 3.
Number
No,
3?
I think it stays at 2. That's where I think it's going to stay.
Stays at 2? How about you, Logan?
I think that worldwide it does better than Catching Fire. I think worldwide it does better than Fast 6. The only question for me is Frozen. Because I know Frozen did huge. 1.2 is a lot.
Frozen did massive, like, internationally.
That's like but it has to make up so. I'll say Iron Man 3 is also second, but I would not be shocked if it's first. That's what I'll say.
Yeah,
I'll agree with Cam for second.
My other thing is, like, how far up is Fast and Furious going to jump? Because internationally, it always leaps.
It was 9, so it can go far. I
mean, do you guys want to make a secondary guess on where Fast and Furious climbs to?
I think Fast 6 goes to 4th.
Dang,
I was behind Catching Fire, Iron Man 3, Frozen. I would say 4th.
I think it stays. I think it's also 4th, but I think that Despicable Me 2 takes 3.
Oh, you think Catching Fire falls that far?
Yeah, because I don't think Catching Fire was that big overseas.
Had an international. Yeah, that's what I'm also curious about.
Because that's a very that. I feel like that's very uniquely American dystopian.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the whole thing that it was getting a lot of flack for at the time was that it was stealing the battle royale genre from the Japanese battle royale movie, right? Or like that kind of idea. So
yeah, but at the end of the day, everybody stole it from. Everybody always stole, like, it was all stolen from Greek myth. So.
Oh yeah, also true. Everything is stolen from either the Iliad or the Odyssey. So it's
In this case, it's neither. It's actually just the Legend of Perseus, with the Labyrinth and the Minotaur.
Yeah. No.
So
Trevor, hit us with
number 10. Thor: The Dark World climbs up to number 10, cracks into the top 10 worldwide.
Shouldn't. That movie shouldn't.
Man of Steel fell to number 9 worldwide.
Makes sense.
Gravity at number 8.
Still,
Monsters
that's
University,
awesome for Gravity.
I believe, stays at number 7. Yeah.
Nice.
Fast and Furious 6 climbs to number 6.
Oh,
not as high as I thought it might.
Okay, wow.
Above that, Hunger Games: Catching Fire at number 5.
Wow, yeah, it really tanked. Wow, yeah.
The Hobbit: Desolation of Smog up to number
that makes
4.
sense.
Yeah.
Despicable Me at number 3. I think, Cameron, that you had that.
Good call, Cameron.
And you were both right on the money. Iron Man 3 at number 2, 1.214 million.
Frozen
with Frozen being at number 1 with 1.28 million. So about
close.
65 million more than than
both of those were close.
Yep.
Wow. We're domestic and worldwide were close.
Yep. All right, so yeah, that dropped to number 2 there. We have a runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes, and in the MCU timeline of things, our last appearance of Iron Man, our last solo film of Iron Man had been Iron Man 2, May 7th, 2010. Then we had Thor, May 6th, 2011. Captain America, The First Avenger, July 22nd, 2011. And The Avengers, May 4th, 2012. Back in an era where there was only one Marvel movie that year, because Iron Man 3 then came out a year later, May 3rd, 2013, followed by Thor: The Dark World that November 8th, 2013. Then we would get Captain America: The Winter Soldier, April 14th, 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, August 1st, 2014, and Avengers: Age of Ultron, May 1st, 2015. Our roll call, our director here, Shane Black, who previously had directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Then Iron Man 3. After Iron Man 3, you would do the film Edge, as well as The Nice Guys, and the
so
2018 Predator film.
That's also
good. Yeah.
The writers, we have Drew Pearce and Shane Black. Drew Pearce worked on Iron Man 3, was one of his first big projects. He also wrote the All Hail the King Marvel one-shot that features the return of Trevor Slattery in prison. And Sam Rockwell, who we spoke about recently. He kind of makes a cameo in that. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was also from Drew Pearce. Hotel Artemis and Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw was Drew Pearce. And then Shane Black, prior to all this stuff, he got his start writing the screenplay for Lethal Weapon, and then worked on Lethal Weapon 2 as well. He also wrote the screenplay for The Monster Squad and Last Action Hero, which is definitely one, like, Last Action Hero I loved as a kid. Yeah. Then I learned, people don't like it, it's bad. And then it's like bad. It has come back around. People are like, no, it's actually like a really good send up of like the action.
It's
stuff.
Brilliant.
And it's one I really want to go back and watch now that I'm an adult. And
it's so good.
Name a time. Name a time. I'm there. Yeah, name a time on that one.
It's one of the. It's truly a great movie, and it's a great like just. I don't want to say it's a satire, but it does take like a a very fun lens to the action genre of the 80s.
Mm-hmm. It's also the last great 80s, early 90s action movie too. It very much is the close of that era and a really good ending to it.
I hear it often in the conversation of, I forget the filmmaker that did these, but Starship Troopers and RoboCop. It's very much in that kind of if you're not reading the signs, you'll miss them and you'll just have a fun time. But if you catch the commentary that's being made, you'll just get a little bit more out of it. Shout out to Last Action Hero. He also wrote the other films that he's directed: Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, Edge, Nice Guys, and The Predator.
I think this is also a great reminder that Shane Black is so good and so talented, and was so criminally undone by how the MC people reacted to his movie, because it's so good. All of his movies are so good. Shane Black is great. He should have done 5 more MCU movies. It'd have been awesome. He was Taika Waititi 5 years too early.
You're cutting in and out a little bit for us, Logan. I'm sure your audio is going to be fine, so it won't necessarily play on
Shane Black
stuff,
is great, and he was Taika Waititi 5 years too early.
I mean, yes, I'm catching that Taika Waititi has directed too many things, and Shane Black should have directed more. But you're very robot-y.
You're coming really robot-y, but also, Trevor, I think it might be our internet, because you're coming over to me a little choppy as well. Am I coming over to you a little choppy?
I'm not. I don't have your audio anywhere in my feed. You're muted. So, all right. Well, we'll figure it out in the long run.
In post.
But our cast of characters: Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, having been Iron Man since 2008, then Sherlock Holmes, Doolittle, and Oppenheimer. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, was Pepper since Iron Man, also in 2008. She's also in films like Emma, Shakespeare in Love, The Royal Tenenbaums, and Shallow Hal. Don Cheadle as Colonel James Rhodes, having been Rhodey since Iron Man 2 in 2010. Is also in Hotel Rwanda and the Oceans 11, 12, and 13 trilogy. Guy Pearce here as Aldrich Killian in L.A. Confidential. Really had his biggest break in Memento. I will always remember him from Count of Monte Cristo, though, because I very much love that book and film. And then he was in Neighbors as a long recurring character. It's a UK drama, I think, drama or comedy, I don't know. Neighbors. Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen was in The Prestige and Vicky Cristina Barcelona, as well as The Town and more recently Godzilla vs. Kong.
She is in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, having played the role since Iron Man, also in Swingers, Chef, and these days he's a director, writer, producer of various Disney and Star Wars projects, including live action movies like Jungle Book and The Lion King, with the biggest of eye rolls on the Lion King one. Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, best known for his role as Mahatma Gandhi in Gandhi.
Incredible.
Also in Schindler's List. He was very good. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
Underrated film.
Not as good.
Okay. Iron Man 3, and more recently reprised his role as Trevor Slattery in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Excellent movie.
And lastly, Ty Simpkins as Harley Keener was in Iron Man 3. Shortly after that, he was in Jurassic World. So he was the kid in things for a little while there. He was in The Nice Guys, and then when he came back in Avengers Endgame, nice. Nobody knew who he was. He was just that random guy at Tony's funeral that everybody's like, who's that supposed to be? Because he had grown up and gone through puberty. But then he was also in The Whale last year with Oscar winner Brendan Fraser.
Good for him.
Our trivia, I mentioned earlier, this was nominated for the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, but it lost to Gravity, which we touched on did very well that year. This is the first movie in the Iron Man franchise not to be directed by Jon Favreau. He later said, however, that not directing allowed him to have more fun with his character of Happy Hogan, saying he was like, quote, a proud grandfather who doesn't have to change the nappies, but gets to play with the baby. On the first day, Robert Downey Jr. and Sir Ben Kingsley met on set. They snapped a photo together to send to director and mutual friend Sir Richard Attenborough. Producer Kevin Feige described this movie as, quote, a full-on Tony Stark-centric movie. He's stripped of everything. He's backed up against a wall, and he has to use his intelligence to get out of it. He can't call Thor, Captain America, or Nick Fury, and he can't look for the helicarrier in the sky, end quote. Robert Downey Jr. further described the character as influenced by a post-Avengers world. Quote, what are his challenges now? What are some limitations that might be placed on him? And what sort of threat would have him, as usual, ignore those limitations, end quote. The character of U.S. President Ellis is named after comic book writer Warren Ellis, who wrote the 2005 Iron Man story arc Extremis, which was a primary influence for this film's storyline.
Extremely good comic book arc as well.
Tony meeting Ho Jensen in the opening is a nod to the character's line from the original Iron Man about having met him once in Bern. That line being, we met, in a technical conference in Bern. Tony says, I don't remember. And Jensen says, of course not. If I had been that drunk, I wouldn't have been able to stand, let alone give a lecture on integrated circuits. So that's a fun little tie back calling him in.
Also, shout out to the doctor he tries to introduce him to, because he shows up at the end. He's the one that fixes Tony's heart.
So that's the next bit of trivia I'm going to get into. Dr. Wu, introduced in the opening burn sequence, is I guess not much more prominent, but is more prominent in the Chinese release of the film, which included an extra 4 minutes of footage. From Screen Rant's article, Iron Man 3 was different in China. What scenes were added and why? The Chinese version of Iron Man begins with a question: what does Iron Man rely on to revitalize his energy? After a 3-second blackout, the answer is provided: Gu Li Duo, which is a Chinese milk drink. This isn't just product placement, though. Back in 2013, the Chinese government was trying to calm fears over the safety of domestic milk, because a major dairy company, Yili, had been forced to withdraw some of its baby formula due to mercury poisoning, thus leading to a boom in black market milk sales. Another long scene serves the same function, featuring Dr. Wu taking a long drink of Gu Li Duo. Just in case audiences hadn't gotten the message the first time. Meanwhile, another commercial later in the film is for a Chinese manufacturer of tractors and cranes. And then yet another scene features Dr. Wu making a telephone call from his Beijing office, while a television screen shows Chinese school children cheering on Iron Man. Fan Bingbing plays Dr. Wu's unnamed assistant, who helps him perform surgery on Tony in order to remove the arc reactor, and has an extended discussion with him about the operation. One final tense scene discusses whether or not this has been a success. Although these Iron Man 3 scenes were ostensibly added to reach Chinese audiences, they were clearly all about trying to make the Chinese government approved Iron Man 3. They were trying to make Chinese basically approve the Iron Man 3 for the Chinese box office. And if you read more about that article, it's like, the audience saw right through this like bald-faced like ploy to like try and sell them on the influence of China on the show or on the film, and then everybody was very disappointed by just how minimal and how easily cut-outable the character's role ended up being.
Fair.
So yeah, it's in that era of whichever Transformers basically just did an extra like 15 minutes of the movie for the Chinese box office and stuff. So just wanted to pull that in because I remember him being introduced to the movie, and then if you like do catch that he's the one doing the operation at the end and haven't forgotten that character from 2 hours ago, sure, I did. You get that extra little bit. But so I kind of looked into it. I was like, who was that guy, and was this a like Chinese market kind of thing where he was like, he has a bigger role, and sure enough, that's the article I found, kind of digging into it. So I just
recognized him as the guy from the beginning. Because I was like, oh yeah, that's him. Also, I noticed that Tony, instead of going under anesthesia, they use acupuncture instead, which is cool.
Again, targeting the specific audience that they were trying to target for that.
As somebody who's done acupuncture, or rather had acupuncture done to me, is a better way to phrase that. Don't know if if I would fly for that, but that's just me.
Oh, you don't want surgery on a big hole in your chest? All right, that's fine.
Anesthesia, please.
Yeah. All right. So how does it hold up, everybody? What did we think of this one? Cam, I'll throw it to you first. As I saw you or heard you watching it last night.
Yep.
What'd you think?
This is potentially up until Thor Ragnarok, I think this is the funnest Marvel movie. Or let me rephrase that, because Guardians of the Galaxy exists, so that's fair. I think it's up there. This is like an era of Marvel that I love, where it's just them having fun with these characters that are very, very good. This movie is taking elements of, how would Tony react? And it's a great lead up to the wormhole thing, and it's a great lead up to Wanda, like, kind of bringing those fears to surface level again in Age of Ultron. Okay, shaking your head that way, fine. I like it a lot. I think this movie is great. I think that it does a lot to kind of like shore up Iron, and I think one of the best things about this is it kind of shores up the Iron Man quote unquote arc and plot line. Like, we didn't really need an Iron Man 4 after this, because we got the resolution from Iron Man 1 through 3 of kind of closing the loop on a lot of these larger thematic elements. And I think that it just does such a great job of closing the loop on everything. I think that a lot of people freaked out because he threw the his old arc reactor into the ruins of his
Malibu home.
Yeah, Malibu home. I was like, what's the place where only really, really rich people live in LA? And it's Malibu. Yeah, he threw, like, people were like, oh my gosh, she's not going to be Iron Man. It's like, no, I don't think people get that he's not letting who Iron Man is define him anymore. Like, the arc reactor, this reaction to him.
He doesn't need Iron Man to live anymore.
Yeah.
He can still be Iron Man, but yeah, he's not beholden to this.
Yeah.
We can come back to you, but I know Logan very much often talked about it a lot in our Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff, specifically Homecoming.
That's true.
Logan has very much always like, they should have just let Tony not do anything after Iron Man 3. He should have just gone and not come back for Avengers, not come back for Civil War, any of that other stuff. So Logan, go ahead and take that as your jumping off point.
I mean, I think Iron Man 3 is incredible still, right? I mean, I think I agree wholeheartedly with Cameron that it is, in some ways, maybe, more fun than Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I think it's certainly up there. I think the trio to me is Guardians, Iron Man 3, and Thor Ragnarok are just sort of head and shoulders kind of on that Mount Rushmore of the most fun Marvel movies.
I put Guardians 2 up there as well.
It's a lot of Ant-Man eraser here.
That's a great.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you know what? Ant-Man's great. People sleep on it. But like,
You're right,
I think Iron Man 3, to me at least, is also the most dramatic of all those movies and deals with the most serious themes, and is also tying up a lot of stuff. I mean, this movie, we talked a lot about backdoor pilots. This movie is a backdoor series finale if it needs to be, right? Because they didn't know if they were going to get RDJ back for the rest of the MCU after this, right? And so it very much could serve as the end of his character if it needed to be, right? And then they were like, how about we give you $50 million a movie? And he was like, all right. Which, like, fair. But I think it's sort of a shame. My opinion has not changed watching it again. I haven't seen this movie in 10 years, right? I haven't seen the movie since it came out in theaters, right? And I love it just as much. I think it's just as good. And I'm just as convinced, in my opinion, that this is where Robert Downey Jr. should have left the series, right? I still hold true to that opinion, right? I think his arc is so wrapped up from what we've been building to for the 4 movies of the Iron Man trilogy and Avengers 1. And yeah, I mean, we just didn't need anything that came after this, and I think it sort of ruined the character for a good stretch of time until we got to Endgame again, right? Where I think that is the next movie that has Iron Man in it that I like Iron Man in, is Avengers Endgame, which is 5 years from now, and like a lot of Iron Man appearances later. And we've talked a lot about Civil War and Age of Ultron and Infinity War, and a lot of my issues with all 3 of those movies center around Tony Stark and Iron Man in particular. I just think they really do a service to that character, but none of that matters here, because here, Robert Downey Jr. is great. I mean, this is his best performance as Tony Stark, I think, in the entire series. I think it's in this movie, watching it again. I think it is his most layered and complicated and messy and emotional. I think he gets to actually be an actor in a Trevor Slattery way, right? And I think his stuff with like his PTSD and anxiety and panic attacks dealing with the aftermath of almost dying in Avengers 1 is great and is really well done. And I think in lesser hands could have been really overwrought and melodramatic and overplayed. And I think he sells it just perfectly, right? Like speaking, before this, like he threads that needle so well. And I think all of his relationships really work. Obviously, him and Harley, him and the kid, is sort of the emotional core of the middle of the movie. But I think he's so great throughout. And I think Pepper is really great. I think Rhodey's really great. I think the villains are really great and a really cool sort of reflection of Tony in a lot of ways. And yeah, I think it is my favorite Tony Stark performance. It's my favorite performance from RDJ in the series, and I still think it is among my top 4 or 5 favorite MCU movies. I think it's just brilliant, really.
One of the things I want to jump off there is the first line I think that the Mandarin has is "You know who I am," very much being a mirror to Iron Man and what he's been saying a lot over the, like he says in this movie, he leaves it on the on the nightstand on the card kind of thing. And yeah, I think while I do not feel as strongly as you that like this should have been the end of Iron Man's story, I do think it would have been a fitting end to the story. I think I really appreciate the like look at the PTSD side of things. Yeah. I always have been a fan of the Trevor Slattery reveal.
Yes, we'll get into that
in a very narcissistic way, just because his name's Trevor, but also because I thought it was like a very fun, clever. Like I remember like the analysis that like people would do in like the trailer breakdowns and stuff of like, why is he speaking like a Southern Baptist preacher, and like why is he using this kind of iconography and stuff like that. And I love that it is because he was thought up in a think tank, and it is just like he is. Yep. We needed a villain, and so we pulled all these elements of villains and hired an actor to do that.
It's perfect.
To cover up that some of our our extremis cases blew up accidentally. I think it's just such a especially for what could have very easily been a very problematic character, given the the very racial history of the Mandarin as a character.
It's
in a way that couldn't just naturally be done 1-to-1. I thought it was a great spin on that character, and a ton of fun. I think I also I appreciated and I found myself appreciating this, like the villains. I like Aldrich Killian as a villain as well. He's not like a top tier Marvel villain, but I like him just fine. But I love that like his henchmen, even though they aren't like notable real like big bad characters in the MCU canon, like Savin is a fun like menacing, gives as good as he gets kind of villain. I love the woman that they fight in the town has a lot of great like energy and threat to her. And then like I love even when we get into like the henchmen have character, and it very much feels like the Venture Brothers kind of like 21 and 24 bit of like like how far is it? How from here? Oh, it's 372 miles. Yeah, I'm good like that. And then the other guy just being like, I hate these. Like these guys are so weird. I don't even like working here. And like just that flavor of like they're not like there are plenty of them that are just like brutal violent henchmen that. Sure, we can see Tony beat up or kill or drown in a fountain and explode. But I love that like there are a couple there that like become real people for a bit. And I had forgotten. It's only been a few years for me since I watched it. I probably watched it like in the lead up to Endgame or Infinity War, one of the two. but I had forgotten that like there were two henchmen that kind of have like character there. I thought it was going to be the same guy that's like, yeah, I'm good with that. Was also the guy that's like, just let me go, man. But no, he was a much snidder one. I was like, no, it's going to be a different guy. But yeah, just a ton of fun there. It could have been very easy to botch the like Tony and Harley relationship.
So easy.
But I love that but they don't. They make it work. Like Tony very much gives this kid crap. And I love that, like, I mean, the last thing, like, he does to the kid is drive away and leave him out in the cold.
You're driving away just like my dad? Yeah. And you know how I know that it hurts? Because we're connected.
Yeah.
Gets me every single time. It's such a good, like, no, kid, you can come with. It's like, no, fuck off, kid.
Yeah. But then he obviously gives him the
right
goodies and stuff. Also, shout out to the Spider-Man ride at Disney California Adventure, where Harley went and worked at Webb with Peter Parker, and is in the queue of that ride and all that stuff. So, he continued on in canon kind of stuff.
Yeah, Harley does that. You have hints about Ironheart, lots of really cool stuff.
Squirrel Girl is
as well.
Yeah, is one of the people on the thing.
Shout out to that ride too. That ride's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. Something that I get a kick out of every time is the Adam Pally cameo as the guy who like is the Tony Stark superfan. Like I don't know if you can tell, but I modeled my whole thing after you. The hair's a little miffed right now because I don't have product, but like I love Tony just kind of like is like, all right, I'm gonna let this fan guy over me for a little bit, but here's what I need you to do.
Also, the guy has like the bluest eyes I think I've seen in years.
He's always a delight and a little bit of fun to pop up, and yeah, I think there is just so much of a joy and a fun action to this. It is very much like you obviously see those Lethal Weapon like vibes with Tony and Rhodey. I love like the shootout kind of thing of like, haha, did great. Yeah, if you were aiming for the last, you think I could hit the bulb at this distance? And it's impossible. And then Rhodey just pops it. Love that, like the one-upsmanship between the two of them, and just the banter and friendship and relationship, and the action in this is also really fun for a movie that is very deliberately keeping Tony out of the suit for a lot of the movie. The moments when he is in the suit and it's whether it's the Malibu sequence and it's not a fully powered up suit, so he has to shoot a piano at a helicopter to take it out, or kind of like deal with that stuff, like the fight sequence when the henchmen are kind of going buck wild and he only has like a gauntlet and a boot, and is like flying around and kind of maneuvering and doing that stuff. Great creative way of visualizing something new for that. And then when he's not in the suit, he's home aloneing it, and he's he's a mechanic and he's building the things, and we get a lot of fun there. I love the creativity of the like kind of flight free fall thing, and then I always get a kick out of the swerve that he wasn't in the suit the whole time. He was like, it was all he was all doing that remotely, because we get like the big hero moment and then he's immediately disintegrated by a truck. So yeah, ton of fun in the way that was like a clever reveal, and you get that moment of like, oh no, oh he's fine. So yeah, lots of fun, and then we get the house party protocol at the end with him going from suit to suit in fun and creative ways, and yeah, just so much of a good time in this movie. This is very much a like smile on my face the entire time kind of movie. Yeah. Any other favorite moments or anything anybody want to give some love to?
I just want to give a love to the fact that this is a Christmas movie. Like I love that there are two films that you can be like, what are my favorite Christmas movies? Die Hard and
Iron Man 3.
And Iron Man 3. These are great. Like Iron Man 3 I think is just like and by the way, if you enjoy Iron Man 3, you enjoy a lot of like the kinetic and kind of like energy around it, and kind of like the creative ways that it handles problems. I highly recommend to anybody out there go see The Nice Guys.
Yes, everyone should watch Nice Guys.
Yeah, Nice Guys is a very much all in the same vein. Like this type of tone and pace and humor and everything they do, and kind of like the really smart things that it does and says. One of my favorite things about it is this is a massive critique on the military-industrial complex, on billionaire and like billionaire ego and issues and problems. Has great commentary about like government leaders protecting massive donors,
special interests.
Their special interests. You have like Killian's entire plot is outside of just protecting it, is being angry that the president still won't let him conduct his experiments in the open. And so he's totally good with just killing the president of the United States because of it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think the much more visceral thing is that the vice president has an amputee daughter
or granddaughter, but yes,
granddaughter or whatever, and is basically like bought into extremists that way.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily like, oh, he's protecting Killian, and all of the corrupt things he's doing.
Yeah.
It's because of political clout. It's
personal.
It's a very personal relationship.
Yep. And it's completely believable in that moment when you see the affection he has for his granddaughter, that it's like he's doing this because he believes in the concept and idea of extremists, that whatever was told to him and sold to him, he believes in it. Because to the point where you're like, hey, for my granddaughter to be able to walk, I'm going to like let the president die. Strong stance, but like respect it.
Also, in a pre-last
pre-Trump
presidency, it's like, this is a way more like believable kind of thing now. Yeah, just people in power just for very personal reasons and clout.
That makes sense. That actually, that tracks. It's like, this is way more believable today. I think that also, I love that, I love the beginning. Like, where do our demons come from? We make them.
Yeah.
Like, with our decisions. And this is also a great tie-in. It's like, these are Tony's roosters, or these are Tony's chickens coming home to roost. Like, this is everything that started with him being a dick led to Killian contemplating suicide on top of that building, and leaving this woman behind in a one-night stand with an incomplete formula. It's really a brilliant way of like tying in Tony's, like showing Tony's growth as a character over Avengers and the 3 Iron Man films, but also like showing this. By the way, don't forget, he used to be really awful. Is it fun and kind of like playboyish? Yes, but these are consequences of what people with power and money and influence have going forward. And I think it nails it perfectly, and does such a great job with it. Also, shout out to, I forgot his name already, but he plays Killian.
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce. Yeah, Guy Pearce, at the beginning of this movie, coming off as a, like, just somebody who really believes in the idea that Tony Stark is this, like, cool guy who's gonna ditch these girls to come talk about his think tank that he's thinking about making. Just, also, shout out to him being the worst for having, like, the classic Chinese dragon tattoos on his body. Yeah. Just being out there, just on him, and dumb as hell, and just like, you pretentious dick. I'm the real Mandarin.
Oh, look, you're inside my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Just, it's perfect. It's perfectly cast. Guy Pearce is an amazing actor. This movie is perfectly cast with all of its, like, all the additions that it makes, bringing back the right people. And yeah, shout out to Happy also being a big fan of Downton Abbey.
Sure, yeah.
Just, it makes it, he thinks it's elegant. It's just such a good, like, it continues to add to the dynamic of Happy isn't just Tony's bodyguard. Yeah. He's Tony's best friend. And they really solidify it in this movie, I think, with how Tony reacts to the attack. Also, shout out to talking about how people will cover up corporate disasters with things like, I don't know, terrorist attacks, suicide bombings, like all this sort of stuff. It's like, man, I wonder, has that ever happened in American history? Like, look it up. It's good stuff. Don't get too deep into the conspiracy hole, but like, legitimately, these things have happened, and it's kind of fucking nuts, man.
I think the movie's really clever, right? I think, in particular, how it deals with Tony, like Cameron was saying, and his transformation from who he was to who he is now, I think is really clever to see kind of unfold. And it's like really small details, right? Like Tony doesn't drink in this movie after his like fiasco with it in Iron Man 2, right? Like there are multiple scenes of like him like refusing to drink in this movie, right? And like there are all these kind of small beats and moments, I think, of just
also keeping his diet clean, vegan. When he's at the bar, he's eating nothing but like a veggie platter. It shows like even though like he's totally cleaned up his act.
But he's also replaced that addiction with the addiction of building suits.
Absolutely, which shows that you can't just quit something. You have to replace it with something.
I think that he like, and this is part of why I think Iron Man 3 is such a perfect ending for Tony's character, is because I think it is him in a lot of ways really grappling with and finally kind of fully embracing and accepting the trauma of Iron Man 1 really as well, right? Like, the arc reactor stuff I think in the movie is really good, and I think it's him kind of accepting that he doesn't have to just be Iron Man, that Tony is enough, that Tony is capable enough, which is also part of why, like, I hate that by the time we see him again in the next movie, he has like 500 Iron Man suits now. And it's like, that's kind of the entire opposite point of the movie, but like whatever. And like, I just think that like, there's so much beauty and I think poetry to his arc and his story, and him like blowing up all the suits and just being with Pepper. And like, I would have loved to have seen him, if we did continue onwards, being like a guy behind the scenes, like on the keyboard, doing that kind of shit. And like, taking over everything that way. And yeah, I just think the way he embraces all of his various traumas, right? And like Cameron said, the way that it is Tony's own mistakes that are what almost undoes him is remarkably human, and also kind of classically, epic and tragic, right? Going back to like ancient Greece stories, right? Or even like Shakespearean tales. And I think that's kind of great, right? Like, I think there is a lot at work and a lot at play here, and we're in a really good run of MCU movies in general, right? Like from First Avenger to Avengers 1 to Iron Man 3 to Guardians of the Galaxy's happened this era, right, as well. Winter Soldier's happened this era as well. Like, we're in a really great run, I think, of, like Cameron said, the MCU sort of letting these characters off their leashes a bit more and do different things, right? Like, Winter Soldier is a 70s espionage thriller film. This is a movie focused, this is like a buddy cop PTSD laced movie, right? That is also somehow really fun and whimsical at the same time, and never takes itself too seriously while also being very serious in beats. And like, it is doing these tonal shifts that shouldn't really work, but I think it's done in such expert hands and with such great performances, like Cameron said, that you never even kind of blink at it. And yeah, I think certainly when I think like the MCU at like its best, like it is largely around this era of films. And I just think Iron Man 3 is sort of emblematic of that, but also sort of the one that is the most forgotten about, or maybe the one that's the least beloved. And I think it's a really big shame, because I think in some ways it has one of the harder jobs because of who Tony is at this point in time, and like popular imagination was so ingrained, I think, as like the party and playboy fun guy, and he's not really any of that in this movie. He's basically an asshole to a kid that he meets. He doesn't have a suit for like 95% of the movie. When he does, 80% of the time it's not working properly. You know, he's getting caught, he's getting tied up, he's getting beaten up. He's losing a lot more than he's winning in this movie. And I think it all just makes it that much better, right? Like, I think if you don't allow your heroes to suffer or lose, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Jason Statham, who can't lose in their contracts, it makes your heroes less interesting and less compelling, right? And Robert Downey Jr., I just think, is not afraid of letting that happen to his character. Nor Chris Evans for Captain America, who gets obviously very much beat the shit out of him in Winter Soldier, and that makes his movies better because of it.
Yeah. One thing I want to shout out, because I always love it when it comes up. I didn't shout him out in the cast, but of course Paul Bettany, still in Jarvis mode here, has not yet evolved into Vision. And one of my favorite lines is always like I think things are going well, but I get to the end of the sentence and I say the wrong cranberry. Is just always one of the funniest lines in this movie.
The Miami joke that pays it off is also really good.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. Listen, I'm gonna have to like teach you how to like reboot Jarvis's speech circuitry. But for right now, look at the screen and tell me what it says. It says Miami.
Yeah.
So
I think
one thing I want to ding the movie on, because it just bothers me every time, and this time was no different. I think Maya is a little bit underwritten.
Oh, absolutely.
Or they have her like too flip-floppy.
Yes. I think that's the issue.
That's probably the bigger issue, yeah.
Cameron, you weren't on the show last week, but I told you that I educated Logan on fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maya in this is the Big Show, who notoriously is like
absolutely
it goes from like face to heel to face to heel.
Even I get that reference. Yeah,
he does he flip flops so often, and it makes total sense.
Big Show, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Show, one of the greatest of all time, but also
but yeah, like
most inconsistent.
With Maya, it's very much like she shows up, damsel in distress kind of thing, gets taken aside with Pepper, and they kind of go on their story, and like they bond really nicely, and she's a good person, and we get the reveal, she was working with Killian the whole time. It's like, okay, that's fine, but then they have her like grow a conscience to like try and bring her back, and then she just gets shot and killed, and it's like, why did we do that?
Grow a conscience happens so fast. Like it's like she's like evil monologuing to Tony, and then literally Killian comes in, and within 30 seconds, she's like, no, you shouldn't do this, and she gets killed. And it's like, where did that last bit come from here? Like, that just happened so rushed.
She literally says, Werner von Braun, innocent young man looking up the stars. And I'm like, in that entire point, I'm like, he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
He's like a full-on Nazi. He defected as part of Project Paperclip when it became clear the Germans were going to lose.
She even says it. She even was like, he's a Nazi. And it's like, well, I don't think you're making the point you think you're making right now.
Listen, he just wanted to, like, I just want to help people. It's like, but what are you saying? Are you saying you're a Nazi? Because if you're saying you're a Nazi, you're now worse than Killian.
Yeah, you're not making the argument you are.
You're like, you're trying to be like, I'm just like, I'm doing the wrong things for the right reasons. The rocket just landed on the wrong planet. All this stuff is like, I hear what you're saying, Maya, but you're like, you're not seeing what you're actually saying here.
Yeah,
and the issue too,
think about who your heroes are. Like, maybe pick a non-Nazi hero.
Listen, there's plenty of rockets.
It's not that hard. Yeah,
there's plenty of rocket scientists who were not Nazis. Now, there's a lot of them that were. A lot of the big successful ones were.
It's like, it's also that thing for me of, like, the true answer probably for like why her character is weighted is because there were too many villains at the end, right? Like they had the main henchman, they had Trevor doing Trevor shit, and they had Killian being Killian, and it's like, well, there's just not enough room for her. But her exit feels so rushed because it happens like in the middle of the movie. Like it's just so random. She's like, oh, she's gone. I thought she was gonna be like the main, like, co-antagonist of this film, and then it's just she's gone. And like the movie even sort of teases like, oh, maybe she's the real mastermind because she sort of talks down Killian when he captures Pepper, and it's like, what's happening here? And then she's just boom, X out, and it's like, all right, they just didn't have a plan for her, and they just had to get rid of her so they could focus on the rest of the movie. And like, that sucks. I'm fine with it ultimately. I like it. I would have actually loved for her and Pepper to have gone on more of an adventure because I actually did like their dynamic together a lot.
Gwyneth Paltrow, not even close to being close to even a person I like as as an individual. Love her as Pepper Potts.
She's
love
so
her as
good
Pepper
as Pepper.
Potts. Like
especially in this movie, she's doing a lot here. Yeah,
Gwyneth Paltrow's a phenomenal actress because she plays roles where I really like her, but in real life, awful. Real life, terrible person. Incredible actress.
Yeah,
terrible
great actress,
person.
though.
There you go.
Great actress.
We talked about it a little bit. Let's talk about the Mandarin twist of the reveal of Trevor Slattery. I always love it because he's so oblivious.
Oh, yeah.
And so out of his mind on
and so
drugs.
easily, right?
And I love the like. Oh, they told you they'd get off drugs. No, they told me they'd give me more. They told me they'd give me drugs. But like the like, no, nobody gets hurt. All this stuff's fake. All that stuff. After we saw him kill a guy in the most like brutal like. It like I love that Mandarin scene in particular because that is like the epitome of like what a terrorist win would be of like, hey, Mr. President, I'm holding this person hostage, this ExxonMobil Roxxon person hostage. You have the number. Answer the phone and or call me, whatever it is. Yeah, call and save this man's life. When the like real political thing of like we don't negotiate with terrorists would say you're not going to make that call and he's going to do the countdown and that poor person's going to be killed or you're calling a bluff. And no, the president succumbs, calls, and still like the world watches the Mandarin execute a man. So the Mandarin gets to execute the big bad Roxxon corporate CEO kind of thing, and he has shown the world that like he has the president under his thumb, and so like that is a great like just scene in and of itself, and the psychology of that, and for the reveal to be like he was high as a kite when that was happening and doesn't even realize he killed a man.
What does Killian say? They say his leer was the toast of Croydon, wherever that is.
Yeah.
It's just such a great like fucking like Killian's the fucking worst.
I also like right before that scene happens when Killian walks in and is like, no one look him in the eye, he'll shoot you in the head. And it's just sort of like, what is the dynamic? Like, I just love like how unhinged everything about the operation there is. It's just, it's perfect.
And then like, so he spills everything to Tony. Savin comes, knocks him out. He's like, all right, Trevor, what'd you tell him? He's like, nothing. I said nothing.
So good. Savin is also an underrated part of this film.
Yes, I agree.
He is so good, especially when he's taking out the plane.
Yeah.
Air Force One. So goddamn good, just on every level, and just the perfect like I'm immortal. Who gives a fuck? Like attitude that he has when he comes out and he regenerates for the first time in the movie. And he like looks over at doesn't even like gives Happy like a slight glance and just keeps moving, and just keeps walking as his body's regenerating. It's one of the like this movie gets so much right, including the CG. I think.
He's basically the T-1000.
That's what I'm saying. Like this movie does Terminator 2 really well, and I mean there's a total compliment. Like it like a lot of movies try to mimic it, and I think this movie does like the little touches of that so well, and just like. The air of like I don't even need to look around me because I'm indestructible. Nothing will stop me. That like they do in Terminator 2 is done to perfection here by this character, and also like the woman in the town as well.
Yes.
Like she just carries herself like as like that T-1000-esque like being, and it's awesome to watch unfold. Like I think those moments are so cool and so tense and evoke that like James Cameron Terminator magic.
There's that, and I will also say that there is the aspect of that they are vulnerable. If you can take out if you can, however it works, either you do an arc reactor blast through their chest, or you
throw them into an electrical line.
After blowing them up, first in like a kitchen,
there's so much about that is just really, really fucking good. About being like, they aren't invincible, they're just really hard to kill, and Tony doesn't have like a full powered suit. So how does he do that?
Yeah.
How does he make it work? And it brings to light, like, yeah, it is Tony without his toys. At
the first
his
one in
best,
particular, that woman is a really good example of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, and also leads to just like that bar, like that what leads up to it with that bar scene, him walking past her, going in, the whole like, your son didn't kill himself. Also, shout out to the report saying MIA, and so we're like, oh, it's missing in action. That makes sense. He's a soldier, and it's like, nah. And Tony just the moment he realizes that it was just the paper was flipped over backwards, and he wasn't really reading it. And it's that moment of like, I love it when you see smart people realize that they've just committed a very dumbass thing to do.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the brutal murder of the sheriff and his deputy.
Oh, absolutely.
As well. Absolutely brutal. Like, there's a lot. And just Trevor sort of talked about this a little bit, but like, there's a lot of this movie where I'm like, they wouldn't do this in modern Marvel.
Nope.
Yeah.
And in like all the best ways, like in all the best ways, like, holy fuck, that was awesome. Like, again, like it was very like T-1000. Like she fucking speared this man, shot the deputy through his chest with a gun. Like, there's also a lot of people getting killed by guns in this movie.
Yes.
I looked it up to see if there was an all-out bubblegum body count, and unfortunately they do not have one. They have one for the original Iron Man, but they did not have one.
Yeah,
have one for Iron Man.
Yeah.
The Tony's whole, like, I want to say stealthy, but he sort of gave up being stealthy like halfway through assault on like the mansion where Trevor is at is great for a million different reasons, but like it is so brutal. Like Trevor talked about, obviously, like he drowns a man then blows him up. Like there's so many great touches, like tasing the guy, like the hand on the head one. Like he's just fucking these guys over. And just brutally kills a couple guys with like actual just shooting them in like the face basically, and it's awesome. Like it's fucking great. And like again, like Shane Black's familiarity with like the Lethal Weapon series and like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is like really coming to the foray here, and it's great. It's like classic like 80s 90s like.
And that plays right into the comedy of the Trevor stuff, and like, do not go in there, and then like go into the bathroom, ladies, and you hear them off camera being like, "Oh God,
oh my God," yeah, it's great. Also, like the fact that like when Tony hides if Trevor comes out, they don't immediately just go like, "There's a dude right behind us." Like they like have a conversation. One of them goes like, "There's a man behind us," and he just totally blows past it and just keeps talking. Is great. Like.
Oh, shout out to
everything around Trevor's great.
When he goes, "Oh, do you want money, drugs? Maybe do you fancy either of the birds?" And it's like, this is a scumbag.
Yeah. He's just such a weasel. I love it. Yeah.
And at the end, like, there's a lot of people I'd like to roll on. Just immediately going for a deal. So much great stuff there.
Shout out to him falling asleep watching women in bikinis play ping pong.
Yeah,
like just a sleaze, just an absolute sleaze.
Just him falling asleep while being interrogated by Tony is just like there's so many like. There are a lot of times where I'm like, this thing is great, and like if someone doesn't understand it, I guess I get it, but like it's great, and like Trevor's so fucking good. Like I just don't get it. Like it's such a good twist. Like it's one of the few like genuine modern movie twists I feel like we get that are like awesome and well done, especially in the MCU. Where like so much of this is like, if you read the comics, you know the twist from like a million miles away, and here you wouldn't have, and it's awesome and it's great and it's so well done, I think, and it pays off well. And like Trevor said, you can't do the Mandalorian really beat for beat,
the Mandarin
accurate. Yeah, the Mandarin like beat for beat 100% accurate because he's mad problematic, right? And
it's just it's insanely racist. It's just insanely racist.
This is such a great way to do a version of that and have it be really great. And Trevor Slattery is awesome. And I would love if the MCU did more fun villain twists like this. And they won't because no one liked this one, but it's awesome.
I mean, talking about it, and especially since it's so fresh in our minds, like it is. This is a fun twist on par with the Michael Keaton Vulture reveal, or like Michael Keaton as the dad, as Liz's dad reveal, I guess rather. Just lots of fun. Just such a delightful, like fun romp. Is way more violent. I also shout out to the bookend of Tony narrating the thing, and it turns out with the post credits thing, it's like he was narrating it to Bruce, even though Bruce isn't a therapist. Yeah, I'm not that kind of doctor, and Bruce also nodded off. So like very early in the story, basically. So he didn't hear any of the movie that we just sat through.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of
also
fun
Tony like hearing that and then going like, I think it really began in 1983 with my dad, and then just completely ignoring that, just going off into the next story is great as well.
Yeah. Any other moments we want to shout out? Anything?
I think just quick ones for me of just like funny, humorous beats, because we didn't talk about it all. Like we talked about, how far is it to the city? 832 miles. We talked about like, I don't even like it here. But sandwiched in between those two moments is,
yes.
All right, on the count of 5, 1, 2, and like nothing happening for like 10 tries in a row is great. And then like,
oh, don't step on that watch. That's my friend's.
Else.
That's my friend's sister's watch.
Yeah, like you buy it, bought it. Okay, you got me. It wasn't mine to give away. Actually, it's like there's so many quick, fast-paced one-liners throughout this movie. But like that whole sequence when he's like captured, there's like 500 jokes flying left and right there, and Tony desperately trying to get the suit to come to him, and is never not hilarious. Like this movie's so funny. There's so many small beats like that, but like that sequence in particular, I think, is like such a standout of like how much that movie's firing on all cylinders. From like when he first breaks in and does like the awesome assault to interrogating Trevor to then being captured himself, like that whole sequence, like 10 minutes of perfection, basically. It's all awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, back on the Trevor thing, we get earlier in the film, we get the fortune cookie speech from the Mandarin.
Yes.
And then he comes out after the bathroom stuff, and he's like bragging about knowing that to the girls, and that's the thing that he's saying when they're like, there's a guy. Yeah. Cameron, anything else from you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Also, Trevor's got a line in somewhere in the movie, like at some point where he's like, like it's in Paris, or like it's like Paris. Well, he's in London actually, but his name is Paris. So like, it's also a really great beat as well. Like, there's just so many Trevorisms in this movie that are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to the War Machine password
Iron Patriot.
Stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
War Machine rocks.
Yeah. with an X, all caps.
Iron Patriot's a better name. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Oh, that's so much better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm looking through like quotes and stuff to see if there's anything else I want to give a shout out to, but I think that'll do it. So let's dive into the ranking. We don't have this isn't like one of our Spider-Man ones or our indie one from a little while back. So we don't have a whole bunch of segments to do outside of the usual ones. So report card, we grade from A+ to F. Cameron, I'm going to throw it to you first. I'm going to throw it to you, and hopefully you have an answer. But there's always like a pause of like, what am I going to give this kind of thing? And it's like, we do this for every movie. So
yeah, no, I got my grade already loaded in the chamber. We're ready to go.
So yeah, report card grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give this?
It's a solid A for me.
Solid A.
I think that there is a few detractions for it, but I think overall it's such a fun, incredible movie. Just a solid A.
All right. How about you, Logan?
I'm gonna give it an A as well. I mean, I'm bad with like the pluses and minuses. I don't really do them very often, but this is gonna be a movie that tempts me to do an A+. I mean, I think the movie's just incredible, right? I mean, I think top to bottom, I think it just works on almost every cylinder, right? I think it does what it wants to do. It sets out what it wants to achieve. It tells, again, my favorite Tony story, my favorite Iron Man story. I do think it's RDJ's best performance. As good as I think he is in Endgame, that is not his movie. It's like 10 people's movie, right?
Yeah.
And here, like, this is his movie given, like, the whole thing around him. And I just think it's incredible. I think it's really, really beautiful. I think it's very emotional. And I think it's one of the funniest movies in the entire MCU. And just looking at my thing, like, I currently have it ranked 4th on my letterbox, and I absolutely am happy that ranking's still, like, I think it's just easily the cream of the crop of the MCU.
Yeah. It's an A for me as well. One other line I'll shout out, touching on the idea that Gwyneth Paltrow, very good as Pepper. I do love her killing Killian and then being like, oh my God, that was so violent.
So good.
Is a great little twist.
Oh my God, I thought I lost you. Why? Because I fell 200 feet?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So shout out to that.
Also, Maya's reaction when like she goes into Tony's house and looks at the giant, like 200-foot tall, like teddy bear, and he's like, "Is that normal?" Is also a great little beat.
Yeah.
Oh, their response like, "Yes, it's normal for us." Like,
yeah.
And also the first time we see Tony not in the suit but piloting the suit, and like Pepper goes downstairs and he does everything he can to try and like get her, and he's like, nope, busted.
Yeah.
Great little scene stuff. And then also the terrifying, like, he calls the suit in his sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing that like in the trailer, and everybody was like, what does that mean? Is this like a nightmare? Is this a dream kind of thing? And so for it to be a nightmare but like manifesting in real life was a really cool choice.
I used to think that it was kind of messed up that she went to go sleep downstairs, but as I've matured as an adult and gotten older, I realized that was her making like a really big, like, I feel very angry at you, but I also know it's not appropriate for me to be like to speak out or act out on my anger because you are hurting and sick. And so I'm just going to sleep downstairs and we'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a very mature adult way to handle that situation that I did not appreciate when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do love that all of those like him not in the suit things set up for calling in 42, the prodigal son returns at the end, and being like, all right, like he launches it at Killian, blow mark 42, and that blows him up, kind of stuff. Just good stuff, yeah. An A for me. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. We have the original Iron Man. We have Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy. They don't recommend Iron Man 2, but they also do recommend Thor the Dark World. So
they shouldn't.
This is like, it's a very eclectic mix of movies that they're pushing out.
It's a weird list all around.
Ant-Man, Assembling a Universe, which is their kind of like documentary on making the MCU kind of stuff, and then the 1994 animated series Iron Man are going to be the
some of those are really good things you should watch. I agree.
Yeah. Extracurriculars, watching anything else on Disney Plus? I forgot to shout it out last week, but I'll shout it out this week because I've watched all 3 of the Doctor Who specials that have come out over the last few weeks. The 60th anniversary
the Giggle
specials, the Star Beast, the Wild Blue Yonder,
Wild Blue
the Giggle.
Yonder.
Yep. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. Cam, how about you?
I've also watched those.
Did you watch all 3 of them?
Yep, I finished the Giggle last night, I think, or maybe it was the day before. But I finished it. Like massively excited for the Christmas special coming out in a couple weeks. So.
I'll pick your brain about it after we get off the show. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe we'll do some or all of those as an episode in January, once we're past the holiday rush.
I'd be so down for it. Let's go.
Yeah. How about you, Logan? You watch anything on Disney Plus?
We're gonna make it a clean sweep.
You watched them too?
Doctor Who specials as well. I think that we will have thoughts on those.
There you go. Cool. Well, maybe we'll stay on a little bit after the episode to just chat about them amongst ourselves a little bit before we do a full-blown episode down the line. But yes, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, everybody, for joining me to discuss Iron Man 3. You can follow Logan at LeftyLogie, Loggy. Anything you want to give a shout out to, Logan?
Go ahead and watch all 38 episodes of Baldur's Gate 3 by one Trevor Starkey.
We're not at 38 yet, but I think by the time this is done, we'll probably be around there.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's an incredible achievement. Trevor's done like 4 of these this year.
Yeah, I need to do like
awesome.
a breakdown of like my at the end of the year. Like here are all my big series from over the year and how many episodes I did in each one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. What do you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Give a shout out to our most recent That Nerdy Site show. It was a really great kind of like going over the Game Awards, kind of like both the results, but also talking about the Game Awards themselves, our critiques of it, and also just kind of like our appreciation for the parts of the Game Awards that actually mattered. Mm-hmm. As well as we talked about games that we're excited for that had their 38 world premieres.
Yeah. You follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. Echoing that, I will actually shout out both IGN and GameSpot have published articles celebrating some of the winners that didn't get time on stage kind of thing. So go check out those articles, the speeches that you didn't get to hear at the Game Awards kind of thing. So those are cool stuff from Rebecca Valentine over at IGN and Tamor Hussein over at GameSpot. Basically, Rebecca's came out first, and Tamor was like, "I'm working on this too," and he, in his article that I think went live today, he did shout out like, our friends over at IGN also did this. So you're going to see some of the same responses across both of them, but we still want to celebrate it because the Game Awards decided not to. Go check out all that stuff. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed.